Welcome, listeners. This is episode number 9 of the Business of Writing in Romance, and I'm one of your hosts, Rachael Herron.
And I'm Carolyn Jewell.
And we are here to talk to you today about Facebook ads, which is kind of what everybody is talking about and what I think savvy writers are doing right now. But we'll get into that in a moment. We're glad you're here. But Carolyn, tell me what you've been up to this week, because I think you've been busy publishing-wise.
I have a box set of 3 of my historical romances that I put on sale. I got a BookBub, so that actually went out. This is Sunday, so the BookBub was yesterday. So I've been taking some screenshots. As of this morning, I have made back the ad.
Yes.
So because it's in historical romance and it was a paid.
I saw you
it's not free.
I saw you at number 2 this morning.
As of this morning, I was number 2 in
anthologies or box sets.
When I checked this morning, I was number 72 in the entire paid Kindle store.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's awesome.
That was exciting. And then I was number 1 in historical romance, which is really hard. Number 1 in Regency romance, and number 1 in collections and anthologies.
That's fantastic.
And that was just in the Kindle store, and I probably didn't sell enough to be thinking of making a list. I probably would have had to be pushing up into the top 50, and to touch a little bit on our topic of today, I would have to be pushing some Nook Facebook ads, which, since I have those optimized, when I get home, I may do that.
What do you mean by optimized?
I have the audience optimized.
Okay, great. Perfect.
So
we will talk. Can I ask a specific question about your BookBub?
Yes.
Was this a new box set?
Yes. I put it together and got it out wide in June.
How many reviews do you have on it?
The box set has 0 reviews.
So you got the BookBub really by filling in that information we talked about last week, the information about yourself and...
Yeah, I didn't put in all that much. I just, kind of said it's these 3 novels, and I understand what they do for box sets is they take a look at the individual books. So, the 3 books in it are The Spare, which is one of my earlier works, which is actually kind of one of my secret favorites. I really like that particular book. And it has an okay number of reviews. Scandal has 350 reviews.
Yeah.
And Indiscreet was a book, and Scandal was a Rita finalist, and Indiscreet won a Bookseller's Best Award and has a pretty decent number of reviews. So I have a feeling they kind of looked at that and said,
absolutely. How long are you going to leave it at 99 cents?
Well, I'm targeting letting it go through the 28th.
Okay.
Because I wanted to...
And as we record, it's the 14th, so that's a couple weeks.
Yeah. So I wanted to give at least a week for the BookBub, as people are looking at old emails or whatever, but also to have enough time to do some targeting with Facebook ads. We'll kind of see. I mean, obviously, with BookBub on Amazon, you get that big spike.
Right.
And,
have you backed it? Did you decide to
hoping,
back it up with any other ads? I can't remember.
I am not right now, but I'm probably going to find out what I can pull together quickly. It's been a crazy couple weeks. So they're just that kind of.
I took up your advice on Robin Reed's. And I did.
Okay.
What did I think I did it for my firefighter free book. And you're right. It was relatively inexpensive with pretty excellent results.
Yeah.
So not BookBub standard, but really good
it's a good supporting list, I think. So so probably today or tomorrow I'll get some of those other lists in line and do that so that for the next couple weeks I'll be doing lists, and assuming I can get them, and some Facebook ads.
Awesome. Have you had time to write this week at all, or?
I have, and finally, I feel like I've
Yay.
made a breakthrough kind of with this book. It's for the longest time I was really doing nothing but tightening up and rewriting, those all the sloppy motivations that kept slipping away with this particular couple. It feels really tight now. So
Good.
now I'm all the way up to chapter 11.
Awesome.
And there's like a bunch of chapters, those middle chapters I've already spent a lot of time on. I think I've very few changes. And then it'll just be working on the back end. So I'm really feeling much better about that.
You have a look of relief in a sound of relief in your voice. I know
Well,
that was kind of kicking your ass.
last week in particular, I was just in that kind of, okay, so this is going to be the one that proves I'm a big fraud and can't really do this, and this is the book that everybody is just so excited for, and I don't want to ruin that. I don't want it to be a
Well,
disappointment.
you have the expectation level, and
Yeah.
that's hard to write underneath, I think.
Yes. And every now and then I can feel like, oh, but what if they don't like that? What if I do this and they don't like it? And it's like, oh my God, Carolyn, stop that.
But they will like it. That's the thing. I
I
can
have
tell you that, even if you don't believe it right now. I know they will. Good for you. That sounds like an eventful week. I really like your I'm actually putting together a box set right now too, which is why I came across yours this morning. I wasn't, Google stalking Carolyn Jewell, but I was looking at how people are doing box set covers because the 3D image was really big for a while, but now the flat, one-dimensional cover is really pushed, and yours looks really, really, really nice. So,
Yeah, so I've been using Demonza to
hmm.
do my covers, and I actually specifically asked that it not be 3D. They provide me a
Yeah.
3D image of it,
Oh,
but I
interesting.
don't, which is nice. That's kind of standard, just because it really helps with Facebook ads and a book
Mm,
cover, especially this one because it's text heavy.
hmm.
Um, uh, so
Mm,
that 3D
that
image
makes
means that
sense.
yeah. So, but I've never liked the 3D cover for I just when you look at those covers, when you see those, if you go through Amazon and you look at box sets and you look at all the ones that are 3D, there's maybe two that are effective
Hmm.
that I've seen. And that's when they have, an interesting image that expands across the back and you can tell what it is.
Right.
And in fact, some of those box sets with those better images are among the best sellers, and I think it's because people look at it and go, the
Ooh.
standard
Yeah.
box set 3D image tends to be very messy.
And
It's
yeah.
visually a mess.
And that's what I really liked about yours. It is very, very clear. Kobo won't even accept them if you're going for promotion. You have to have a
Kobo and
flat.
Apple.
Oh, Apple also? Okay.
Apple does not
Oh, that
allow
makes
3D
sense.
covers.
Yeah, of course. Of course
Yeah.
they don't.
So you have to get a non 3D one anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
but
never used a 3D at all for any of
yeah.
my box sets, so I don't even know how they
Well,
work.
and Demonza, they showed me a couple examples of what they often do for 3D for box set
Hmm.
covers, and I just decided that I would go with you know the full background being basically the image from one of the books, and then as you can you saw the three
Yeah.
covers kind of small below,
Hmm.
and I really that just was my preference.
That was my
The other one
preference as
also
I
was nice.
was going through all of them. That was what my eye was
Yeah.
most drawn to. So, I tend to put my box sets together myself, which we'll see if this cover doesn't work. Then I'll ask my designer to make me one. But I think I've got a good handle on a good one right now. So hopefully, I'll keep you posted on
Well,
that.
you can always A/B test it.
Yeah,
If you have the money, you can stick it up on PickFu or something like that, and just kind of get
that's a great
some
idea.
reactions.
Does PickFu, do you have to shoot it to your, I've never used them, but I know about them. Do you have to shoot it to your audience, or is there an audience out there waiting to give their,
They have been the answer is they have their own audience of people who are
that's what I
you
thought.
know
Opinionated?
Well, my understanding is that the back end is Mechanical Turk, which
Okay.
is now owned by Amazon, has been for several
I
years.
didn't know that.
So it's, yeah. Um, so they are tapping into that Mechanical Turk um, background. But now PickFu is, over the last maybe year and a half, has really increased its ability or its offerings in terms of crafting in the audience you want.
Oh, great.
You can now say, you can now select by gender, and you can do a bunch of demographics, which I don't, the only one I do sometimes is gender,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what my goal is, because I don't necessarily mind having guys look at the cover too. But the problem with not selecting gender for gender is it's usually the guys that have the really stupid, like, saying something about the cover that's, the color green's not there, and they're saying, I really hate green. Why did it's like, dude, get out of here.
But you can't sort for
Um,
romance readers, can you?
I, it's been a while since I looked, and I don't know. I guess I have to say, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
But I usually put in the question, like, which cover do you prefer for a, historical romance book? It depends on what I want to get out of the particular pick foo.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
So,
I might do that. Anything else in your week?
um,
I think that sounds like a lot.
writing related, no. What about you?
I feel like I have a lot of news, and I apologize if you hear yapping. That's actually not one of my dogs. There's a stray dog that keeps yapping outside. So apologies if listeners hear that. But I wrote a ton. I wrote, well, a good amount. I wrote 15,000 words this week, which is my goal. I'm going for 3,000 words a day, 5 days a week, with the weekends off.
Wow.
But the weekend also given to me to catch up if I don't get that done. And what's the big news? This is my most exciting news is that UC Berkeley Extension accepted my proposal to teach a 10-week course of how to write a romance
Ooh,
in
awesome.
spring, which they've never done. I've done my romance class there and at Stanford on a one-day format, but I tell you what, a one-day overview of how to break into romance is the students leave the class with their hair blown back and their eyes just wide, and there's just so much information. But with the space of 10 weeks and 3 hours, 2.5 hours a night, one night a week, it's just going to be so exciting. And I'm also a little nervous because I'm always nervous when I'm starting a new class. But, I have to develop everything. And what else? I feel like there's something else exciting. I realized that, so I have a Patreon for creativity essays that I write, essays on writing about creative or on your own creativity. And it's a successful Patreon. It's awesome. I have great patrons. But when I put up these essays, that was the door.
A haunted house.
I know. Oh my God, that really sounded creepy. Maybe I should stop putting up these essays. Maybe that was my hint. No, so when I put up these essays, I put them up on Patreon under, I put a Word doc, I put an EPUB, a PDF, and a Mobi. And then I give instructions on how to download these essays. But I'm getting the feeling that a lot of the patrons are just in a really, really awesome way. They're happy to support me, but not eager to try to figure out how to get the essays onto a device. And I was at a kind of a mastermind lunch this week, and I mentioned that I'm thinking about making those essays into podcasts because it would be a good 30, 40-minute recorded piece that then I could also add with the EPUB Word doc and Mobi, so they could choose anything to listen to it. And one of my patrons happened to be at the table, and I said, "What do you think?" Because I think people don't even really read these essays. And she goes, "You have essays?" And she's one of my patrons. And the Patreon campaign is about the essays, but she hadn't noticed. So I think that this might help get them to look at them more. I think it would be a really fun thing to have out there, and it would just be a little bit more time expenditure on my part. So I think I'm going to do that, and patrons would get the essays by audio a month before I would release them to anyone else. So that's kind of What have
How
I been thinking about?
how are you delivering
In all those four
your
formats.
EPUBs?
Oh,
Okay, but how? And
through
like you just
through
post.
Patreon. Patreon just basically you can upload all.
So where do you post? Do you post files that people have
Yeah.
to? You're not using BookFunnel?
No, because you have to be a certain level of patron in order to be able to get the EPUB. Do you think BookFunnel would be probably an easier way? Because
Yes.
that sends it into the. Is it a so BookFunnel for listeners is something that when your reader clicks, it will deliver it in the format that you use. So if you have a Nook and you click on it, it'll deliver it to your Nook. But is that something that you can like password protect and only certain people get?
Yes.
Well, then I should be doing it that way because that's
Um,
really smart.
it
Is it
wouldn't be password protected, but you can say you can authorize which emails
okay?
addresses are can go to a given link.
I might add that.
So I think you should,
Yeah.
because not only does BookFunnel basically allow someone to say, oh, I want the iBooks version. If it doesn't work, BookFunnel provides the tech support.
I did learn that recently, and that was really exciting to me because I do get those emails like I just my son got this on my Kindle, but now I can't figure out how to do it for the next one. So, well, thank you. I'm going to do that and report back to you.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, okay, can I tell you one more thing I'm doing this week?
Yes.
Apparently,
Yes.
this week has been really eventful. I am, and this is still a thought. I will update you next week with what I think about this. But I am super good at. I'm really good at formatting interiors of books from a Word document, putting it into a really attractive interior for CreateSpace or anywhere else to upload the PDF. And I'm thinking about doing kind of a plug and play. I don't want to have a kind of a small business where people say, I want this font and this. I want to put up 3 different interior choices. It's kind of like a bargain stop. Choose one of these 3 or 5 interiors. $50 is what I'm thinking. And I shoot it back to you. There's no quibbling the fonts. They've already looked at all the fonts. This is the set that they want. And it would take me probably
And you
about an
have
hour.
fully licensed fonts?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been doing for my own books. And that's why and I think eliminating the quibbling, eliminating this is for people who just want a pretty interior but don't want to think too much about it. Get their quotes, get their, their blurbs, just have a way of collecting all the information that I need to just plug and play. Maybe with a Google form or something
So
like that.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Not everybody's really good at Word. So is this something that you won't have to spend a lot of time fixing somebody else's crap formatting?
I know how to nuclear wipe out their formatting and put it into my Word. I'm saying I'm trying this, and yesterday I was at our local RWA meeting, and I made the mistake of not the mistake, I made the fortunate statement to one of our friends that I was thinking about doing this. And 10 minutes later, she comes back to me, and she goes, that lady over there needs an interior, and I told her that you want to get in the business. So I'm giving this woman a super cut rate deal to be my guinea pig. And so I'm going to see how that works. And if I hate it, then I won't do it. But for a fun, easy thing to do at night when I'm tired watching TV or something like that and make a little money, which I'm really concerned about right now while my wife is still job shopping. Not job hopping. I wish she was. So I thought it might be a little nice side hustle. But so we'll see. We'll see. And then I was wondering, do I want to create EPUBs and Mobies for people? But I don't think I really do. That's just a lot of coding. I really like manipulating Word into something beautiful.
Yeah, Word is one thing. If you want to do ebook formatting, I think you have to be committed to doing an awful lot of QA because there are.
And I'm not committed to that. That's the thing. Last night when I was lying in bed thinking about it, I was like, I don't want to do that kind of QA.
You would have to learn HTML and CSS inside and out.
Oh yeah, well that
You really
cuts
would.
me right out because
Yeah.
I know quite a bit, but not enough to be perfect. And I was thinking I would just do it in Scrivener, but even Scrivener leaves its artifacts.
Um, the so I guess what I would say to that, and the problem with using anything but a process that's converting XML or HTML, is that all of those programs typically not only leave back their own artifacts, but because the CSS behind that and the HTML behind that is really inefficient, um, the file is bigger than it needs to be.
Oh.
You cannot, and I might just myself personally, I think if you're accepting somebody's money
Yes,
for formatting, then you should be giving them a fully optimized
a perfect product.
file.
This is exactly what I came to last night, and I think that I enjoy doing.
And
And a PDF is a PDF,
there is
so that's an easy thing to ship if they like it and if it works. It works.
yes. And like with CSS, there are the order in your style sheet in which your styles appear and are grouped affect the efficiency of the loading
What?
of your file.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
out. I'm right out.
there are third-party tools that will show you the map
Right.
of your CSS, and if it's not optimized,
Yeah. No. You have just.
so
I was 90% convinced out of it, and now I'm 100% convinced out of it. But I will keep you updated on how the experiment with interiors goes. Because I think I could do. You know how they have those pre-made book covers that people choose? It's a bargain way to shop. And then the designer
Sure.
slaps the title and the name on.
Sure.
It's going to be like that. A bargain place for interiors.
Yeah. Well, Joel Friedlander has like these
Yes.
templates, which is kind of the same thing, except for if you buy one of his templates, you have to do all that horrible.
Then you're doing it.
And it's like, I don't
And for
want
me,
to
I love it.
do
If I
that.
can make a macro to like,
Yeah.
oh, I just love to hit my macro keys to watch things, to watch Word dance. I make it dance. Okay, speaking of technical things, you want to jump into our Facebook chat?
Yes.
And listeners, we're going to try to keep this as an overview because I think that's really all we can do on a podcast, audible version. But I know people have a lot of questions about Facebook ads and about what their worth is and about how to get started. So, Carolyn, why would authors use Facebook ads?
Okay.
Overall,
I was gonna say,
yeah. Well,
they use
Facebook ads.
Well,
We don't have to go that basic.
okay.
The authors, you should be on Facebook.
Why would authors use Facebook ads? Because there are loads and loads and loads of people on Facebook. And Facebook offers tools that let you target those people on Facebook with ads that are, we hope, very likely to interest them.
Which is where, when we're on Facebook ourselves and we creepily see in the corner the exact dress that we were just scoping on Title IX, Facebook has all that information about you as a consumer, right? It has a lot of information.
Yes. So there are, Facebook has what they call a pixel, which is a really benign word for what is in fact a tracker.
How do you feel about the Facebook pixel? Do you use it on your site?
I've been avoiding it for a long time because when Facebook first came out with beacons, they appeared to implement it in a very malicious way. I don't think they intended to be malicious, but when you don't disclose to people that they are being tracked, and it actually becomes an offline way of tracking.
And listeners, what we're talking about Yeah, it's a persistent cookie for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. And right now, Facebook is using something that's called it's actually a pixel that they give you the code to. And Carolyn, correct me on any of this. You insert it into your personal site, not your Facebook page, but into your personal site, so that if any readers come and look at you, look up your bio, they look up something that you've sent them to your subscriber list, your mailing list, sign up. Now, when you can now go to Facebook and target the people who have been to your site ever because of that pixel, which is a very strong thing to have.
It does a little bit more than that. It not only, so those people have gone to your website, and so that's like, okay, it creates your group, but it also tracks them as they do other searches.
You're
so
kidding.
They know if they go, yeah. So, but the use of pixels now, or it's because some security people were pointing out like all the problematic implementations, it's a little less concerning to me from a security standpoint than it used to be.
Okay. That means a lot coming from you. Listeners, Carolyn thinks a lot about security.
which is still not to say that we just need a lot more sunshine on the whole issue of tracking, because there's a lot of things about it that aren't right, and actually the technology sector really needs to look closely, because for example, perfect world, let's pretend that there's nothing malicious and we don't have the NSA, hello NSA, taking a look at everything we're doing without a warrant. It would be really nice not to be shown ads for stuff I'm not interested in. But, examples of stuff they get wrong. Like, I think I talked about this once. Like, one time for writing a book, I needed to know what Crocs looked like, and I wasn't absolutely sure. So, like, I Googled them so I could see a couple pictures. And literally for the next month, it was nothing but pictures of Crocs. And it's like, I mean, Crocs, the shoes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just like, no, I hate them. I will never buy a pair. Stop showing me pictures of them. I don't want to ever buy them. And frankly, if I've been to a site and I bought a product, what is the goddamn point of showing me pictures of something I already bought? I don't want to.
Right. But there is marketing power in that. So
I'm sorry. That was my fault that we went off down that rabbit hole.
I love rabbit holes. Okay, so but more back to the overview of why authors would use it. And let me tell you how I've used them, and you are much more proficient at Facebook than I am, but I am getting some really good results right now. I have used Facebook ads for driving readers to a first free in series. And that's probably my most successful thing I've done. And then I've used it to drive readers to subscribe to my mailing list, which I have different feelings about, because basically what that breaks down to is you're looking for a cost to buy a subscriber, and I'm uncomfortable with that almost.
Why?
Because I really want, and this is probably a stupid ideological thing, that I want people to subscribe. I want people to seek me out and go, I want to know more about Rachael Herron's work, and join my subscriber list. But if getting that eyeball to come subscribe, yes, please help.
So you want that person who says, I want to know more about Rachael's books, but that's because implicit behind that is, they're going to buy your book.
Right. Yes.
So you've already actually made the ROI, the cost benefit. You only want those people because they're going to buy your book. Mm-hmm. And so let's pretend your book is priced at $4.99. So you're going to make like $3 and something.
Yeah.
On that, which is, that's a cost, right?
Right.
Because if you run an ad, so to be honest, I don't see the difference between being very cognizant that you want to attract people to your email newsletter list who are likely to buy you in future.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. And like
So
I said, it's just a brain block, so I haven't used that very much, but I do need to do that more.
get over it.
I will. Thank you. Thank you. Very short sidetrack, but I promised you I would update you on this. I got the VAT
Okay.
calculator that we talked about last week, the percentage app.
Oh, that percentage.
Yeah, and I upped all my prices, and good God, I was paying people in Europe to read my books. So, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, good. I
episode
feel much better.
episode 8. If anybody missed that, that'll help you out. But so I've used it for pushing first and free. I've used it for pushing subscribers, and I've used it for sale books. Like if I drop a box set to 99 cents or something like that, I'll do that. Those are the only ways I've utilized it so far. But I've got a Facebook ad running right now that's been running for a while, and I've got it down to 6 cents a click, and it's being super effective. So that one I'm just letting go, and I'm still just playing with a lot of others. What have I missed any that authors should be using Facebook ads for?
I think that may depend upon where you are in your career and how long you've been on Facebook and how many followers you have on your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you don't have very many Facebook followers on your page, very many page likes, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
then already your organic reach is going to be like 5 people.
Nothing.
Because,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you were to target an ad for friends and then friends of friends, you almost, the smaller the audience you're starting with, the tinier your reach is going to be. So potentially one goal is to find people who want to like your page. Now, my experience with page likes is you have to be super careful, because there was a period, number one, where people would just go out and they're just click farms, and you have a bunch of robots and fake accounts. So, there's that generic advice of never pay like a third party for Facebook's like bad idea. It's just a total waste of your money.
Okay, good to know.
But you can do like targeted promotions of like promote this page if you're very careful about that it's obvious that what you're presenting as a potential thing to be clicked on is going to be attractive to the kinds of people that would like your book. So every now and then, I spend a very small, limited amount of money on building likes. Partly because I just want to sort of increase, in a very targeted way, the number of Facebook likes I have, and I kind of almost don't need to do that anymore.
How do you specifically? Let's go over real briefly how Facebook ads work for that. So, broad strokes overview. If you're pushing a first and free, it's clear that you're giving away a free book. You say, go here to download and click here. But how do you get people to like your page? Do you compare yourself to another author, or what does that ad look like? What's the call to action? Well, the call to action is to like the page.
I did it correct.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've done it, and now I have to like go way back and think about it. But as I recall, you can, like, one time I tried just to see what it would do, like a video ad, and it was literally just like flowers, because I had a lot of pictures of flowers. But actually, it got me a decent number of the likes that came through appear to be, genuine. But I think actually, to be honest, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have heard that videos, real short videos to drive likes to the page are quite useful. Go on.
Yes, that's just because Facebook is really committed to video, right. So they make it really advantageous right now.
Right.
So there's several authors who are doing some very interesting things with videos. But it's not a skill set of mine, and I'm not in a place yet where I want to put money into that. I have other things for that budget right now. But I know that also, though, when I run ads, I tend to get more likes. So
Oh,
that's kind
that's
of a
true.
side benefit.
I have seen that in my own case. That's
Yeah.
true.
And so sometimes that can actually be a side reason or maybe even a reason to do an ad if you have
Yeah.
something advantageous. I mean, I think it's trying to promote a full-priced book
Isn't
is
isn't that almost
not great.
impossible? Unless you're
Well,
Susan Mallory or somebody with a big name recognition.
yeah, I think it just, you do ads because you have something you want to entice people to. So, I'm trying to think like a comparison. Like BMW is simply always doing a presence. You want to buy a BMW because, you're getting that experience. Um, and so, as an author, you might want to promote yourself. But see, I wouldn't do it for a sale. And I think that BMW is not saying like, we want you to buy this model, but here's the BMW experience. Please come into our store next time you want to buy a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so having having that kind of here I am in the market ad is not necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you should be bringing people to you with something that makes you interesting to be at.
Okay.
So sometimes that just means being really targeted with the posts you have to get engagement.
Yeah.
I have a current post right now where like I do this question of the week. That's like my thing because I'm just so bad at Facebook. I have to really I struggle with it more than anything else with like what kind of content
Me
to put
too.
up there.
Me too.
And Facebook makes it hard anyway.
Yeah.
But I just like asked, are you playing Pokemon Go?
Yeah.
And I always give my answer as the first comment, and that's actually getting a fair amount of engagement,
Did
which is I find very interesting.
Did you boost it at all?
I do not tend to
I
boost my
I
questions of the
No, me
week.
neither. Um. Yeah. Scully, who we had on the show, Jennifer Scully, Jasmine Haynes, we had on episode 7. I saw her at the meeting yesterday, and she said she's been doing that thing we talked about, posting 3 times a
Oh
day and
yeah,
going in and engaging. And she saw her engagement spike, and then she stopped doing it, and she saw it plummet again. But
yeah,
okay, so back to
yeah.
Facebook ads.
Facebook really rewards that.
If you're the author who's decided that you're ready to do this, you've got something to push, either first and free or a sale, or you want to get subscribers to your email list or get likes, what's the next step? Let me ask you this because I have been using the Chrome Power Editor, which back when I started doing Facebook ads was the best way to do Facebook ads. You had to have the what's it called? What's Chrome? It's not an operating system. It's a
browser.
browser.
It's
Thank you.
Google's browser.
So you had to have that installed and use it on there. Is that still the best way to do Facebook ads?
Uh, the answer is there's a third-party tool called Ad Espresso that is not cheap, but it's not horrifically expensive. And I would I would not recommend Ad Espresso for someone who's never done Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
I would start with the free tools. In other words, have the Chrome browser use that plugin that comes from Facebook
Mm-hmm.
that lets you use the Power Editor. Although my understanding is that the native Facebook environment has gotten a little better.
It has. I was
but
looking at both recently, and Power Editor
Yeah.
is what I'm used to, but the Facebook
Yeah.
native is much more intuitive now than it used to
Yeah.
be.
So starting out, I would say do not pay for any tools. You really want to get your mind around the way campaigns work.
What does Ad Espresso do when you're ready for it?
So Ad Espresso has some additional metrics and ways of slicing and dicing your data,
Oh, interesting.
and it can help you create your campaign. um, in much the way Power Editor does, but then it shows you a bunch of different metrics
Mm-hmm.
um, on how your ads are performing.
Okay.
And so it's
Is
kind of
the
a souped up version of the Power Editor.
is the cost
Way souped up.
okay. Is the cost a monthly charge, or is it, do you have to buy the app, or how is that?
Uh, well, you can pay by the month, or you can, get a little discount and pay for a year.
And you find value in that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when I was testing out my Nook ads, it really helped me get a handle quickly.
Okay.
It can also help you target audiences and give you some ideas about pricing, and so it's really a tool that at this point I would recommend once you understand the environment.
Okay. It's
Um,
it's varsity level, not
yeah,
JV.
yeah, and then there's another there's a Woo Marketing has I subscribed to them for a while a couple years back, but they at that point Woobox is what I'm thinking of, WOOBOX. And at that point, I mean, it's a really slick tool, but it was geared at that point mostly toward things that weren't books.
Mm.
So too much of it just didn't apply, and I couldn't justify the cost.
Okay.
But now apparently they've done some refinements, and there's some additional things that it does that could be useful for books. So I'm about to take a look at that again to see if that's a tool that I might want to start using.
Okay. So if we're a beginner and we're just exploring the native Facebook area, do you suggest creating your own graphics?
No,
That's what I was looking for.
unless you're a graphic artist,
Yeah.
unless you actually, and I don't mean like you went out and think you need to. There's just maybe 1% of the DIY people who can actually create a good graphic.
Yeah.
And I really think Courtney Milan has a really good post at her blog that's hilarious because it actually shows some of the pitfalls of bad graphic design.
Okay.
So it's a really helpful post. I believe if you Google Courtney Milan and the Duke's cock, because there's a rooster on the cover.
Okay. Okay, and we'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah. It's actually a really good post because it comes with a visual about the problems with not understanding what kerning is. For example, if you're trying to do your own book cover and you don't know what kerning is, go away.
Exactly.
You need to pay someone to do it. End of story.
Yeah. And to get Facebook ads created and made is inexpensive and easily found nowadays. I am in one. I'm really that stubborn subset of people who I do have enough graphic skills to know that I'm dangerous. But for Facebook ads, because I'm trying to do everything on a budget right now, I use a combination of Photoshop and Canva, and I do a bunch of split testing. And I'll have terrible, 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 and then I'll have one that really hits and really starts getting clicks, and then I kind of analyze that and start changing things to make it better. So that's how I do it. But if you buy Facebook ads, which you should do unless you're dumb like me,
If you buy Facebook ads,
if you buy Facebook ad images, can you request from a designer? Can you give me this? You like this particular ad image, but can you give it to me in 3 different colors? I want to test to see which color is going to be best if you're not sure.
Well, I don't see why not. If your designer isn't willing to work with you on that and provide you the iterations, you have the wrong person.
Okay, good.
Or you don't understand enough about the Facebook environment to know that you need to find a designer who will do that.
Yeah.
So, can we back up just one sec? Because I actually want to talk a little bit about my very, very first time I was running Facebook ads, and it was maybe 3-4 years ago when number one, my knowledge was this.
Yeah.
That's a zero. Zero. All I knew was that you could do a Facebook ad. I did not understand what a campaign was. I did not understand anything about A/B testing, and the Facebook interface at that time was like, oh, it assumed that
Oh,
you
it was
knew all the
horrible.
lingo.
It was horrible.
And so my first impression of Facebook ads was like, this is like super expensive for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just gave up doing them for a while. And then, I started like doing a little bit of research, and I actually, when Twitter reached out to me because they were trying to get people to advertise, and so they gave me this like free advertising budget, like, $50, but it might have been $100. And I was on a phone call with the Twitter person who was actually like, oh, well, this is what a campaign is, and your campaign needs to have like maybe four to six different
Ad
ads
sets.
and
Yeah.
different copy, different images, and I was like, oh, fuck, wow, I was so doing it wrong. It must be 4 years ago, which is like, anyway, but there's a lot of people who are exactly that. They think a campaign is one ad, and
Oh
it's not.
gosh. Okay, so let's briefly say a campaign is kind of this it's an umbrella. Oh no, that's not a good. It's a basket. Let's make a campaign a basket. Inside
Yeah.
your campaign, for perhaps your campaign, my goal is to sell firefighter free, first in series. So that's my campaign. That's my goal, is to sell it here. Then inside that I have ad sets with different audiences perhaps, and inside those ad sets then we have different ads, and we can see how those ads work. So there's 3 levels: campaigns, ad sets, and ads are the actual singular ad. So go back to your story about the first time.
So, you know, I don't know. It was terrible. It
Yeah.
was exactly the reason I think a lot of people go, Facebook ads don't work.
Yeah. I
But
think
then,
knowing that.
all the tools at Facebook came in, they fixed a lot
Yeah.
of their issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were more people out there as Facebook became, because like 4 years ago, Facebook was this very different environment,
Mm-hmm.
very different, not the same animal it is now. Um, and so there's so much more out there for people to educate themselves. So anyway, then I started like going, okay, so now I understand this thing. And so I went out and I started spending some time with people like John at John Loomis, Loomis, or is it
That's.
Loomer?
I think it's Loomer.
I think it's
It
Yeah,
is
I think it
Loomer.
is John Loomer.
And that's where I learned
Yeah.
all of my stuff from. He's a great resource for free information
Yeah.
about this. He's got a great blog.
So if you're trying to just educate yourself before you start spending any money at all, and I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend
Mm-hmm.
that. That's a very good resource. Mark Dawson, um, who is an actual author, has a course that when you're ready for spend, you might consider, although I took that course when it was less expensive than he's charging for it now, but
Mm-hmm.
he's added more content. But once you're committed, it's not bad. And he has a free version of it, and that's a good place to get your feet wet
I agree.
and to really understand the complexity. Because if you go into this not understanding that it's complicated, you're going to have a bad experience.
And I think I mentioned this in another time we were chatting, but for me, I kept going toward Facebook, looking at it, touching it, playing with it in the ads, and then backing slowly away because I didn't understand it. But every time I went in, I got better at it. Every time I studied more, I got better at it. And a really helpful thing to remember is that it's not intuitive. If you are not in marketing and you've never done this, you have to learn it. It's not something that you can just, like if you're blogging, you can figure out how to put text into a post and hit publish and you're done. Facebook is not intuitive like that. So if you're scared and having trouble, you're not alone, and just keep working at it step by step by step. You can, what's the lowest? I think they just upped the lowest acceptable daily bid to $10. Is that right? It used to be $5.
Yeah, it sure used to be 5. Have they made it 10
Or
now?
maybe I just read that they were going to make it 10. It might still be 5, but you can spend as
Yeah.
little as $5 to $10 a day playing when you're ready. to see how things go.
Correct. You set a very, very low spend just to kind of see, do you have an ad set or image text combination that you need not to use?
Right.
So you ditch that before you spend any significant
Exactly.
money.
Another good thing to mention, I don't know if anybody's built this, but I would love to use a tool like this. Right now, I just use an Excel spreadsheet that has every single category of everything I fill in. It's got the title, it's got the description, it's got the secondary text, it's got my ad image name on my computer, so I can tell that in this campaign I used these images. And then later, after the campaign has run, I go in and fill the numbers of how many clicks, how much it cost me, CPM
Well, Ad
versus
Espresso
CPC.
does a lot of that for you.
I'm going to add espresso as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, go take a look
Because
at it.
I'm at the level where I think that'll be really helpful for me, because right now half of my battle was I would a year ago I would change something, and in my brain I would go, oh, I will never forget what I changed, and then I completely forget what I changed, and suddenly it's
Yeah.
doing better, but I can't
Yeah,
replicate it because I wasn't tracking it. Because I tend to be more intuitive in these kind of things. I follow my heart, but you can't follow your heart if you're dealing with marketing. You have to be tracking what you're doing.
Yeah, and you do have to understand the market you're in. You have
Yeah.
to know who your comparables are.
Yes.
Look at me using a marketing term.
Yes.
Who are your comparables? Who are the authors who are like you?
Kristen Higgins,
Um,
Susan Mallory. I've got all of them in my
yeah,
head. People who like
yeah,
Kristen Higgins like my work, and I know that. And she happens to be a great comp for me because she's hugely popular and awesome. I love her books.
yeah, yeah. And um, so you have to balance that. Like, there's lots. Kristen Higgins. Who, Hi, Kristen. She's on the RWA board, so we're buddies now.
Did you know that
Because
she's coming to?
I hadn't really.
She's coming to San Francisco in, I think, January, February. She's going to be at
Oh,
our
good.
chapter meeting. Ha ha!
Oh, that is
Well, I
awesome.
know, it's going to be so fun.
That'll be nice to see her. I
She's
only
great.
knew of her, and she is just a really delightful person.
Yes, she is, 100%.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say about
Um,
comps?
so Kristen Higgins is an author who's going to be competitive to bid against, or to have, because your
Yes,
ads are competing with other ads and everyone in that sort of women's fiction
yes.
space, or contemporary romance space, is going to be bidding um, to appear to in front of people who have liked Kristen Higgins.
Which can
So
drive up your
that's another
price.
kind of
Yeah.
exactly. So um, you have to be careful about your comps and not just go, oh, and they're going to show me to everybody who likes Kristen Higgins, and that's not quite how it works. It's you are bidding. Um, you want to be the top bidder among the people who want to be shown to readers of Kristen Higgins.
And you can
So
narrow that by
you
you can
can.
also restrict it by your targeting Kristen Higgins readers who read on uh, Kobo in Australia. And
Correct.
suddenly you have a wide audience, but not as many people
Right.
trying to win that auction. So,
Correct.
yeah.
So you can bid competitively among that targeted audience. So it means that a part of your entry into the world of Facebook ads is understanding
Mm-hmm.
who you are as an author,
Mm-hmm.
and what readers um, of your books, who else they're reading and liking. So going to Amazon and looking at also buy your own, like when people buy your book, what are the also bought?
Mm-hmm.
There's that it's got this weird name. Is it Vasic or Vilsic? That site where you go in and you put in a book, and then it shows you this kind of cloud
The
with little
cloud.
pictures.
I can't remember what it's called, but we'll find it.
Up,
We'll find it.
yeah, it starts with a V.
Yeah.
Can't believe I'm. Anyway, so that tool is actually very nice because that will show you the links between purchasers of, like, one book is your series, like, feeding in itself, like people are getting into your series and staying there, or they bumping out and only reading one book, or they're going from your series to another series, or another other series into yours, and that can help you figure out who your also bots are.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to your Amazon author page and you look at like comparables, because it'll show you there's a
Yep.
sidebar. Last time I looked, there was a sidebar that shows you authors who like this person also like this, and so you look,
Yeah, it's on
get to
the
know,
left-hand side, and
right?
that's just a tool. And to be honest, like this is great for your Facebook ads and for planning that, but you should be doing this as an author anyway. You should be making sure that your covers are matching your readers' expectations. And we've talked about this before. And those also bots should be, they should be comps. They should be comparable. You shouldn't be the outlier.
Yeah.
So,
So
but it,
definitely you have to, and you have to do some targeting and see how it works. For example, like in my historical side of the business, Julia Quinn is actually not a good comp for me. She's a different kind of historical writer. People
mm,
who enjoy Julia Quinn are probably not all that likely to want, because I do a little more angst than she tends
mm-hmm.
to. Um, so I've, but I wasn't sure about that until I actually tried it, and it was like, did not perform for me well at all. And when I thought
Interesting.
about it, it's like, as much as I love her books, I love them to death, I'm a different writer. And
Yeah.
the person who wants that Julia Quinn experience is not a great candidate. There are many other authors who are more comparable to me
Mm-hmm.
that actually perform much better.
And that's what you find out with testing. Well, in the
Yeah.
interest of time, since we're coming up on time now, what does your person who's interested in Facebook ads need to know that we might have missed? Recently, you presented a workshop at RWA National, so I know you're much more up on what's
Yes,
going on.
Jessica Scott and
Mm-hmm.
Chantel Madison and I did a Facebook 101. And I will say that there were some people there who had never done an ad, did not know the difference between a page and a profile.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Um, and there was one woman who asked a question. She had not understood about A/B testing and targeting an ad first, and she had actually spent like a triple digit amount of money and
Hmm.
wanted to know, if that had been a mistake. And really the answer is, yeah, it was a mistake. You should not have spent that kind of money without optimizing more than one ad.
Mm-hmm.
And really figuring out, is your image working? Because $300 is not a small amount of money, and you want
No,
that money to work for you.
absolutely.
Uh, so Facebook ad, it's not something like, oh, I'll just do an ad. No.
And it's not just a boosted post. I think that's what a lot of people think running an ad is. But I mean, you can boost a post, and that can be a
I
type
have
of
a boosted
ad.
post. When I do a sale, I always, one of my strategies is to also do a boosted post
Yeah, it can't hurt.
along. Correct. And actually, with a boosted post, as long as you have an audience that you know performs for you, you can select that audience.
Holy cow.
Um,
That I didn't
so
know. That makes perfect
yeah,
sense. I've never done it, but it makes total sense now that I see the layout in my mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the one I have running right now, I did, 3D image because I don't have to deal with face, and the ad was approved right away.
Right. Right.
Um,
For your box set,
and
you
I
mean? Yeah.
For the box
Yeah.
set, correct. And that is one, because it's a boosted post. It does contain links to every vendor. But the other thing to remember is you should be doing vendor specific ads.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
run one kind of ad and you have people only show it to people. For your Amazon link, only show it to people with a Kindle.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money and time showing an ad with an Amazon link to someone who wants Nook.
There's
You
absolutely
do
no
a separate.
point. Yeah.
Exactly. So once you've optimized your ads and you know which ones are performing well, you can use the same, you know,
And I
oh, what's the word? Creative, I guess.
right, right, right. I find that's one of the most interesting parts of doing Facebook ads too is I'm always running US Kindle ads, obviously. But I really like going to Kobo in Canada or Nook in Canada. They're still there. I really I like trying to target more directly there. It's fun. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
and treating it like fun, like this game that you're trying to win is it's like this fun, expensive video game in a way.
Yeah. So I think my best advice is if you are getting into Facebook ads, do not spend more than $25 or $30 with your first round of ads. Just
Oh
don't.
yeah, I agree.
Don't.
Right.
And if that amount of money, for your budget seems a little rich, you could probably spend 15. It might be a little less effective, but depending on what your goal is, but I sure wouldn't. Just don't spend any more than that until you feel confident that you're correctly targeting your audiences.
And that you could see some results.
Yes.
You need to have a metric for your results. You need to be pushed. You need to either be getting more of that free book downloaded, getting more subscribers, or getting more likes on your page. Or no matter what you're paying for that click, no matter how low you get it, if you're not getting an actual return, then it's not worth the ad. If people are clicking but nothing is happening because they get to your page and decide, oh well, that's not a great book cover or descriptor, and they don't download.
Well, that's if your goal is a download or
Yes.
or purchase.
Yes, only if your goal is a download or purchase. But there should be a goal to every Facebook ad you have.
Correct.
And it should have a measurable result.
That's correct. If you don't know what you're doing and why, then you have no idea if it's working, and you might as well be flushing your money down the toilet.
Exactly. And we have better uses for that money.
Yeah.
I think
but it can be very, very effective.
Yes.
But it isn't always sales, as we've pointed out. It
Yes.
isn't always sales. Sometimes it's just you want to have your name out there in front of people.
Yep.
But you don't even do that just because. You still have to get your name out there in an effective way.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
I think that this has been a really good overview. What do you think? I can't think of anything to follow up.
Approach with caution.
Yes.
And then once you get your head around some of this stuff, look very carefully at some of the third-party tools that will help you assess your ad performance in an effective way. Because at that point it becomes, number one, a deductible expense,
Yep.
but also an effective expense.
Yep. And I would also say don't forget, because I don't know why people forget this, but don't forget that Google is your friend. If you cannot figure out how do I target an audience in the ad set, Google how do I target an audience in the ad set. You will get dozens and hundreds and thousands of really good advice, and use your brain, but click through those and learn. Take the time to ask the question. And
I would say one more thing is that the world of internet marketing can sometimes I come away from it and I feel dirty.
Oh, it's slimy. Absolutely. I agree.
And so there are people out there and sites out there that are really advocating deception. And I disagree with that. I do not believe that deception is ever a good policy. It just makes it harder for everyone else, for one thing. And you don't want to piss off a reader, man. You want to get somebody to buy something from you more than once. If you have a product and all you care about is I want to sell this one product, then okay, maybe you don't care if
the
person spends their money and then hates you forever and ever. But as an author, you want repeat customers.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get them by misstating what your book is.
Your goal is to delight.
Yeah. Exactly. Or to make the person on the other end of the ad or the content feel that they've been deceived and didn't get their money's worth.
That's a really great point. I would also say just beware of any third party anything. If somebody's going to take your money to run your Facebook ads, you need to talk to someone that you can trust that's getting a measurable return.
I would say that some good strategies once you have some understanding, is to network with other authors
Yes.
and maybe have like a private group, either an email list or a Facebook private group where you're talking about those subjects
Hmm.
specifically.
I have one of those, a mastermind group of just
Yeah.
some successful authors, and we run our ads past each other. What this one is performing well. Why do you think that is? And recently, one of them was an ad where just his hand was on her butt. It's again with the hand thing, but it was on her butt in just such a sexy way, and that was all it was. But it was just flying. That ad was doing so well, and to be able to share that with peers. And so again, we're going to say get
Yeah.
yourself to an RWA meeting or a virtual RWA meeting. That's
Yeah.
where the info is. But also, I want to encourage that you can do this. Approach with caution, but not with terror, because it's just the internet. You know, you can do it. I know that you can do it. If you can write a book, you can manage Facebook ads. I
That is
really
very
believe
true.
that. Writing a
Very
book is
true.
much harder. If you've done that, you're good. You can do it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Carolyn. That was really fun. And next week we're going to be
Yeah.
talking to Pintip Dunn, who was the Rita winner for first book. So that's going to be awesome. We'll look forward to that. Okay, anything
Yeah,
else?
I'm excited about that.
I am too.
I think that's it.
Okay, well, have a good writing week. And
Thanks.
listeners, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.